Hi, everyone. Bill Rensselaer in the 1011 Now streaming studio. It's Monday. That means we get to hang out with Josh Planos from the Better Business Bureau. Josh is keeping his eyes on some local scams that have popped up here in Nebraska over the last few weeks. Josh, how you doing?
I'm doing well, Bill. Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, and so we have actually, there's three of them. One kind of really popped up. It was late last week, really made a lot of headlines. Jury duty related scam, and it sounds like Lancaster County Sheriff's Office just got flooded with a ton of phone calls about this scam.
They did. Sounded like more than 100 calls in a day. That is a lot of traffic. But the good news is, though, that the folks were calling exactly who they needed to, right? If the Lancaster County Sheriff's Office was the department in question being impersonated, um, unfortunately for the scammer, using a title that they don't currently offer at their agency. What a
I believe it
keen
was
oversight.
a lieutenant, I believe, is what it was. And they don't have lieutenants at LSO.
Yes, yes. But yes, jury duty scams have been around for a number of years. The reason being, it's something that a lot of folks don't have a lot of experience with. So anytime there's confusion, that's something to weaponize. That's something where, because folks know that that's a part of your civic responsibility. That, but also don't really know what happens to you if you defy those requirements or that request, that they could be misled into thinking that they would be arrested or that harm would come to them. And but good on the folks who called the sheriff's office to report it. They were immediately able to put that situation to bed. Just a reminder that law enforcement won't call to demand payment for anything, particularly missed jury duty. So if somebody does, you know immediately that it's a scam. But also, please keep reporting. I know that the sheriff's office wants to know when people are pretending to represent their department. So
Yeah, kind of flooded with phone calls there, which again, maybe not a great thing, but a good thing that so many people were reporting that like this scam is going around. I'm sure again you guys at BBB would love if that many people were calling and reporting all the different scams that happen, but that's not always the case. And again, we have two local scams that I hadn't even heard of until you sent the email with some of the information today. One of them involving a horse trailer where you can lease to own through Facebook. Can you kind of walk us through that one?
yeah, so a Nebraskan was looking for a horse trailer. They found it. There was a lease to own option on Facebook. They found one that looked suitable for their needs. They went through a series of communications with somebody via private message, the person who was allegedly offering this trailer, and they received a very detailed, very professional looking lease agreement that required a 25% down payment via Zelle, which is a peer to peer payment method. And they were promised delivery of the trailer upon providing that down payment. Of course, what ultimately happened was the person was asked to pay a bunch of additional fees for things like registration tags and inspection and delivery services. And despite receiving all of this communication neatly bundled in a way that really did pass the smell test, the trailer was never delivered. And the fraudulent Facebook account that was selling the trailer went dark, went offline. As a result, this person is left having spent more than $5,000 on something that didn't exist. And much as would like to think that this is an anomaly, there are a lot of transactions that fit a very similar cadence and leave the person looking for that trailer out of luck. And I give that person a lot of credit for coming forward and reporting their experience, but you really don't know who is selling you items on these platforms, and that's one of the benefits of getting it rather quickly. It's also a pretty significant drawback when you don't have the ability to look into their track record or really have any sense for whether they can actually make good on their promises.
Yeah, and again, you may think, "Oh, horse trailer, I'd never be in the market for a horse trailer," but just fill in the blank, whatever it is that you might be looking for, and there's probably someone out there, again, peddling something basically just like this scam.
Yeah, it's not always at this scale, right? The $5,000 mark. That seems like a lot of money to spend. Facebook Marketplace. However, people are purchasing vehicles, on that platform. People are purchasing a number of pieces of heavy machinery, things that do have enormous price tags, even if it doesn't involve an enormous price tag. If it's an amount that means something to you, you want to make sure that you are as careful as you possibly can be before providing any sort of payment or personal information. Because as we talk about so regularly, Bill, it might not be that the scam is to get $5,000. That might be just part of the effort, right?
Hmm.
Really, having the information on the person is of considerably more value to the scammer to do any number of things.
And we always, we've talked before, peer-to-peer payment systems, Venmo, Zelle, Apple Cash, all that stuff, they're great. If I was standing in front of you and I said, oh, just Venmo me or whatever. But in this instance, this probably, again, one of those big red flags.
I know that online communication has made it seem like we are just a couple steps away from anybody at any given time, but that is a really key difference. Not being able to see that person, not knowing definitively that they are who they say they are. So when somebody tells you, just trust me, put some money down via Zelle, Venmo, wire transfer, that's like sending cash, and scammers know it. They know that you really stand on very shaky ground if you ever hope to get that money back after the fact. And that's why they're requesting that form of payment. Also, it's this, but it's also pretty commonplace on that market, right? There are not a lot of folks who are set up as individual sellers to accept, credit card payments. So it's frankly a marketplace that really lends itself to little security. And while that might be great if you're looking for home and garden equipment, or a set of chairs for your back patio, that is far less of a gamble than going for a horse trailer or trying to purchase a vehicle or a motor or workout equipment. Really, the price tag does get pretty out of hand rather quickly.
Yeah, I came across a pontoon boat on Facebook Marketplace for the cool price of $40,000. And I was like, who knew? They're selling pontoon boats on Facebook Marketplace.
It must be some pontoon boat, because I have not checked the market rate for pontoon boats, but that seems like an awful lot of money. So if that's a discount, that's
I don't know the market either, but yeah, no, that seems pretty excessive for a pontoon boat. But again, who am I to say? Josh, the other local scam that we've seen reported here in Nebraska again involves law enforcement again, but not the sheriff's office this time. It sounds like this is someone kind of impersonating Homeland Security. Can you kind of walk us through this last scam that we had here in Nebraska?
Yeah, so a scammer who was claiming to be a Agent Collins from Homeland Security, he used fake credentials and a fake case number to tell a Nebraska resident that they had intercepted a package with drugs and $27,000 in cash that allegedly linked to this person. Uh, the scammer then told the victim by referencing past addresses and claiming their bank accounts would be frozen due to wire transfers, that this was something that they needed to respond to in the moment. They also attempted then to get the names of the banks that the Nebraskan was currently using, under the premise that they were actually going to protect those accounts for this person. So this is something where, okay, initially you get a phone call from someone saying that they accepted, drugs that were supposed to be on their way to you. Many of us can put that to bed rather quickly. However, the minute that this person is able to hide behind a government agency, has information about where we've lived in the past, it you can see incrementally how these steps lead to a place where someone feels less and less sure of themselves, less and less sure of the situation that they're being presented with. Of course, the government agency is not going to call and threaten you the way this person did. They don't call out of the blue claiming that you're under investigation. They don't ask for your bank account information. This is a hallmark of a number of scams because there are a number of tactics being used. Uh, but this person did ultimately lose a couple $100s in the process by dealing with this person who was selling them a story that wasn't real, and that scared them into thinking that okay, even just a couple $100s is enough to get me out of this situation, forgetting the fact that the situation was fraudulent to begin with.
And again, really across all three of these, and really any number, one of the best things that folks can do, don't be embarrassed. This happens to millions of people every year. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry. But to let, whether it's the sheriff's office or let you guys know, like, hey, this is going around, so we can turn around and tell people. Again, horse trailer, maybe watch out for that, or Homeland Security people, watch out for that, whatever it might be.
I believe that caller ID did play a role in this specific report, and that's another reminder that I know that the technology has come leaps and bounds from what it was even just a few years ago. But we really can't rely on caller ID because the caller ID gets spoofed so regularly. You can get phone calls from yourself. You can get phone calls from government agencies with Washington, D.C. area codes. Scammers are really good at that, right? Mm-hmm. And so there's nothing preventing you from forcing that call into your voicemail so you can at least respond to it on your own terms. I know that some positions lend themselves a little bit less to that kind of dynamic, but it really is important if you don't have that number saved to not engage with them, because even just like picking up the phone is a signal that you are willing to have a conversation with someone, which much as we'd like to think as Nebraskans that's a wonderful part of our culture. When you're dealing with someone half a world away who's making robocalls, that's really damaging and a really concerning decisions to make.
Yeah, 100%. Josh, are there any other sort of consumer headlines or any other scams that you kind of want to let everyone know about?
There's still a lot involving the Department of Motor Vehicles. We're getting a whole lot of reports related to tolls to this day, because again, just like jury duty, you've got some confusion around how these things operate. Did I happen to pass under that bridge that one time? I can't say for certain, so I'm going to act, or I'm going to respond to this. You really need to trust your instincts in a lot of these situations. If something feels off, it probably is, and there's nothing preventing you from hanging up the phone and engaging with that communication on your own terms. So many of these scams are reported because that person was unwilling to get off the phone and to do a little bit of research or to confirm the details of what they were presented with. They just accepted in the moment that this is the situation and I have to respond to it now. Most situations in life you don't need to respond to in the next 30 seconds. And just keeping that in mind and keeping your instincts top of mind will do you a whole lot of good as we deal with the avalanche of scam reports that is part of being a consumer in 2025.
Well, that's all good advice, Josh, all good information. So we appreciate you so much for taking the time today.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Again, that's Josh Planos from the Better Business Bureau. We appreciate his time, again, keeping us up to date on the latest scams going around locally here in Nebraska and other consumer headlines that we need to keep our eyes out for. So appreciate everyone for tuning in and watching. As always, make sure you keep tuned to 1011, both on air and online, for all of your latest news, weather, and sports. Until next time, hope everyone has a nice Monday.
1011 News is everywhere. Download our smart TV apps and follow us on social media at 1011 News.